Hello, we are from Group 5.
We want to explain our idea engineering
About the differences between qualitative and quantitative research.
So let's get it started.
The purpose of the research. This paper was written for beginners in the era of qualitative and quantitative research. We, as the author, want to make qualitative and quantitative research method understandable, interesting, concrete, and usable. The goal is to give the readers feels for what can be done with qualitative and quantitative research and encourage them to carry out qualitative and quantitative studies. Qualitative research is primarily exploratory research. It used to gain an understanding of underlying reasons, opinions, and motivations. It provides insight into the problem or helps to develop ideas or hypotheses, and also used to uncover trends in thought and opinions and dive deeper into the problem. While quantitative research is used to quantify the problem by way of generating numerical data or data that can be transformed into usable statistics. It used to quantify attitudes, opinions, behavior, and other defined variables and generalize research from a larger sample population. Quantitative research uses measurable data to formulate facts and uncover patterns in research. For the theories, according to Kursweil 2009, qualitative research look at words, and quantitative research look at numbers. So, for the next explanation will be explained by Elvita Yusnida about the differences between qualitative and quantitative research.
My name is Elvita Yusnida. Now I want to explain you about the differences between qualitative and quantitative research. The first I want to explain about the purpose of qualitative and quantitative research. In qualitative research, the purpose is to understanding the social reality of individuals or groups and cultures as nearly as possible, as its participants and possible feel it or live it. And quantitative research has a purpose to test hypotheses and then look at cause and effect and then make a prediction. Second is group study. Group study of qualitative research is smaller and not randomly, and it doesn't focus on specific variables, examine of breadth and depth of phenomenon. In quantitative research, the group studies is large and randomly selected and studies very specific variables. The third is variables. Qualitative research study of the whole, not variables. Qualitative variables aren't ordered a numerical scale in statistics, so there are assigned nominal scales. Quantitative research has specific variables studied because quantitative research requires measurements. There are 4 types of quantitative research variables. The first is dependent variables, the second is independent variables, the third is sample variables, and the last is extraneous variables. Fourth is types of data collected. Qualitative research, the data is non-numeric. It is words, image, object, or sounds that convey or contain meaning. When conducting the qualitative research, it will most likely appear in the discussion or figure in the form or graphs. And quantitative research are related with the number and statistics. These are data that deal with quantities, values, or numbers, making them measurable. The fifth is form of data collected. Qualitative data, such as open-ended. In open-ended has less structured protocols and then interview, observation, footnotes, reflection, and abstract. In quantitative data, based on precise measurements using structured and validated data collection instruments. data collection instrument that fit different experience into predetermined response. The sixth is type of data analysis. In qualitative research, there are no universal technique that can apply to generate the findings. There is a set of techniques that you can use to identify common themes, patterns, and relationships within a response of sample group member selection to cause that have been specific in the previous stage. And qualitative research using statistical tools analyze the data. Statistics help us turn qualitative data into useful information to help us to making decisions. And then we can use statistics to summarize our data, describing patterns, relationships, and connection. That's it. And the next explanation will be explained by Ratih.
Well, I'm Ratih Virda Ramayani. Now I'm going to continue to explain the points of differences between qualitative and quantitative research. Start from the second point is the subjectivity and objectivity of the research. As we know, in the qualitative research, the research itself is tend to be subjective. It means we need to consider how the researcher's perspective, experiences, interests, and emotional involvements toward the study. Meanwhile, in the quantitative research, the research is tend to be objective numbers. It means like the research is cannot be mixed, or it need to be put aside the interests or the perspectives or the biases of the researcher itself, because this is need to be based on the numbers. And it's also we need to put aside the emotion involvements and related of the subjectivity. Okay, the next point or the 8th point is the role of the researcher. In the qualitative research, the research needs to be critical thinking, and the biases of the researcher itself need to be participated in the study. Meanwhile, in quantitative research, the biases is not be as a participant. The biases of the researcher and the characteristic of the participant is deliberately hidden from the researcher. Well, the main point is the result. In qualitative research, the result usually in exploratory, typically, or tend to investigate the nature, although the finding itself often not conclusive and cannot just be automatically generalize the result of the research itself. But however, it really helps in like a deep understanding and really have like a significant role in decision making. Meanwhile, in the quantitative research, the result of the result is tend to be like statistical and in a number with a correlation or comparison of the meaning. It's because the variable of the quantitative research is already identified and quantified while it's analyzed. The 10th point is scientific method. In qualitative research, it's usually seeking the qualities of natural phenomena such as opinion or motivations. The qualitative measurements is usually associated with software or like social sciences. For the example, the opinion about the various human beauty phase in this world is one of the qualitative data. Meanwhile, in the quantitative data, the measurement is in a number, which can be gained through experimentation or observation. One of the example is like the distance in millimeters in various features of humans is one of the quantitative data. 11th point is the view of human behavior. In the qualitative research, the research is dynamic system. There is like attention to process, assume as ongoing and also the changes, whether it's focused to the personal or the organization or the community or the entire culture. Therefore, the researcher is attentive and mindful to the research in system and situational dynamics. Meanwhile, in the quantitative research, it's like a regular and predictable, but the advantage of the advantage of them are surveying random data and random sample and providing like statistical data that can be quickly assessed and then applied to a general broader group. That's all the explanation points from me. The next points will be explained by the next member.
And the 12 about the most common research objectives. So in qualitative research, it aims to get a better understanding through first-hand experience. It aims to understand how the participants derive meaning from their surroundings and how their meaning influences their behavior. Meanwhile, quantitative research is widely used in psychology, demographic, economics, sociology, community health, and gender studies, and then political science, and less frequently in anthropology and history. And the next about the focus. So qualitative research focuses to gain insight, explore the depth, richness, and complexity inherent in the phenomenon. Meanwhile, in quantitative research, focus to test relationships, describe, examine cause and effect relations. And for the next about the nature of observation, so qualitative methods are interviews where a person's experiences are being examined, and quantitative methods, phenomena that can be best presented by numbers such as chemistry or physics. And the next about the nature of reality. So qualitative research has the tendency to become subjectively immersive the subject matter in this type of the research methods. And quantitative research tend to remain objectively separated from the subject matter. And the next about the final report. So the final report of qualitative research is narrative report with contextual descriptions and direct quotations from research participants. Meanwhile, the final report of quantitative research is statistical report, which contains correlation, comparison of mean and reporting of statistical significance of findings. So from the explanation we can conclude that the qualitative research generates rich, detailed and valid data, and then quantitative research generates reliable population-based and general data, and then actually both of them has the strengths and the weakness, and it depends on the phenomenon that will be researched and depends on the data that will be analyzed, or it depends on the research itself. And for the suggestion, I think if you want to know or if you want to understand about the concept, about the talks, experiences, you can use qualitative research. But if you want to test or to confirm something like a theory or hypothesis, you can use quantitative research. So that's all about the explanation. Thank you.